So I joined the military after high school. I did it as a corpsman. And I was one of the lucky ones that had a really supportive command that said, all right, you should go off and go to college. So I joined the military straight out of high school. I went and I served on a submarine. I was a nuclear engineer on a submarine station out in Guam. I then came back. I taught a ROTC unit at MIT. I then went to Yale, got my MBA, and then I went to work at Dow Chemical, and I was a hiring and recruiting manager. My responsibility was to hire underrepresented minorities, women, and veterans. And it was in that role that I could see that there was just an extraordinary gap in the amount of preparation that civilians got relative to what veterans got. So I left Dow and decided I was going to fix it. So our goal is to make sure no one leaves the military without a job offer already in hand. You would be astonished if you were like me and you found out that 80% of the military leaves without having a job lined up, thinking they're probably going to get one within about 2 or so months. It takes a civilian with the proper resources 3 months, and you still have bills coming your way. So we've set up the military, folks, to come back in an extraordinary situation, and it's not necessary. I got this quote from Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I'll read it to you. Successful reintegration requires attaining a new sense of purpose and well-being following military service. Without it, a generation of struggling veterans failing to lead or further contribute to society could bring the value of military service into question for future generations. In addition to the moral and ethical obligations we have to successfully reintegrate our veterans, the viability of the all-volunteer force and our common defense depends on it. Simply said, we generate recruiting problems when we keep letting people get out of the military and military service is seen as an efficient path to underemployment. So I assert, and I've always believed, that this has nothing to do with how smart military people are. It has to do with have we gotten them the right resources in time for them to go into a job interview and kick butt. Having helped over 20 military folks get jobs in banking, investment banking, one's at a hedge fund, one got 4 offers admissions letters from Harvard, Wharton, Duke, and Dartmouth. Our people are doing amazing things. They're landing planes on ships at night. They're operating nuclear reactors underwater off the coast of foreign countries. Surely they can come in and manage spreadsheets, PowerPoints, Outlook, turn ideas into ones and zeros. So anyone telling me my folks can't do it, I'd like to talk to them. I'd like to show them some military people that are doing amazing things. So what's really critical is that we get military folks the skills they need in order to be competitive. And a lot of that is networking. There is no networking in the military. On submarines, we regard it as butt sharking or brown nosing. But you're not going to find a job in the civilian world if you don't know how to network. And one of the things that we're helping military folks do while they're in is start to do the informational interview. Now, I was lucky enough for people to tell me what the informational interview is and how exactly to do it. But I realize a lot of people don't know how to do that. So we are going to demonstrate this today. And I have my guinea pig, Jason, who's going to do an informational interview. Well, I'm going to do an informational interview with him. The idea here is this is not the job interview. This is not a conversation that we're having where I'm trying to say, okay, I'm ready for the opportunity you have available. I joined the military after high school. I have no idea who you are or what you do, but I've heard I might enjoy working there. So I want to have a zero-stress conversation with someone and just figure out where is the on-ramp into your organization and how do I show that I'm interested and ready for that opportunity.
Thank you for coming. It's really cool to meet everybody, and it's Carlina, that's cool to talk to you. It's good to see you in here and just to get everybody's stories. And there's probably so much more that we can learn from you as well. But yeah, I think our intention here is really just to support and to, like Yulee was saying, just kind of help facilitate sort of that transition or just help with career. Myself, I was in the Army. I joined in 2000. I didn't have any kind of fancy background. I grew up in Stockton, California. If you know where that is, it's nothing impressive. I went to community college for a year. I joined the Army. I was enlisted. It was before 9/11. I was on active duty on 9/11. And so that was quite an experience, as probably some of you were. I was over there in Iraq in 2003 for shock and awe. And I got out in 2004, and I went through, what do you call it? The pit of despair? Or the
pit of chaos.
The pit of chaos, yeah. Like, I think a lot of folks, when you leave the military, that pit of chaos, you know. And I don't know that it wasn't this dramatic thing. It was just sort of this long, drawn-out sort of confusion. That's what I've experienced. I wouldn't say that I've got it all figured out, but I probably have some different perspective on things that could be beneficial to help you sort of shorten your pit of chaos. That's my spiel.
Hi, my name is George. I'm an info security engineer at Salesforce. Not really sure. Jason pretty much talked about what VetForce does, so I'm just going to stick with who I am. I was Air Force for 8 years, came in through ROTC. I was a network engineer, and then I was in from 06 to 2014. And then came out and started working here in Silicon Valley in San Francisco.
Great, so just a little more for context. We're recording this, and the idea is that all of this information that we're getting here, we're trying to get it to the military families that are in the military right now so that they can use it to inform their transition. Sometimes if someone would have just told me, hey, this is hard, start early, that would have been way more valuable than waiting until 6 months before you're about to get out and then being told to go to a transition assistance program taught by a person that had never gotten a civilian job offer a day in their life. All right, not that I'm bitter at all.
I got virtual tap because I was deployed.
Yeah, virtual tap. Yeah, it's just like, this is not going to become one of those sessions where we chronicle all of the things that are wrong with that transition assistance program. All right, so the setup here, and this is what we do at CivCom. Like if you want to go into Salesforce, okay, what does that even mean? You know, because sometimes what will happen is someone will say, hey, I want to get out of the military and I'm considering jobs in agriculture, banking, railroads, or oil pipelines. That is way too broad. You know, like you have to focus that into an actual organization, into an actual role. And the first questions people are going to ask you when you get there is, why are you here? What does this role that I have available do for you in your career? And there are a lot of wrong answers to that question. We want to help you out with figuring out and giving you some of the verbiage for what some of those right answers are. But the person in the military is the one that drives the interview. We're the one that's coming with the questions because I'm verifying that the opportunities that Salesforce has align with my interest skills and motivations. All right. Jason, how you doing? My name is Yulee Newsome. I'm a lieutenant on submarine station out in Guam. Planning on getting out in about a year. And I just wanted to learn more about what you do at Salesforce.
Great.
Let's do it. So my first question is, what exactly does Salesforce do?
Well, Salesforce is the #1 customer relationship management company in the world. But what it does is it does a lot of things, but the gist of it is it helps companies relate to their customers in a whole new way. It takes all the data and all the information that a company has. It puts it in one place, and then with that, Salesforce has so many different products that allows a company to look at their customers from very many different angles and personalize an experience for that customer.
Okay, I'm on a submarine, and I know we can do real talk. You're already over my head. Like, is there any way we can dumb this down a little more? Because literally, I joined the military after college. So a bunch of data and information coming and being put in one place. I know how to run a submarine. I know how to make submarines go. I know how to do maintenance. Like, what you guys do be constructed in a way that a military person could actually understand?
Yeah. So let me try this. This is so funny you asked that. That's one of the hardest questions. So the military, the Navy, right? You're in the Navy. Yeah. So the Navy, you first probably filled out a form, or you went to a website when you were in high school and you were thinking about joining the Navy. Yep. So that information didn't just go to some spreadsheet. It went to what's called a customer relationship management platform.
Okay.
So it's a mouthful, but basically it's a good, it's a database, but it's a much more complex of that. So the information on not just you, but all the other 10,000, 20,000 people that month that expressed interest in the Navy went into this place. And then what else did you do with that? So maybe after you submitted your information, maybe then you went to go look at specialties that are in submarines. You know, maybe you were on the website and you were looking at aircraft carriers or submarines or whatever else the Navy had. So all this information about you is being generated. And so the more that the Navy can understand what you're looking for and can understand what's important to you, the better that they can connect with you. And their objective, presumably, would be to get you to join the Navy.
Mhm.
So that's, you know, in different cases, it might be to sell you a product. But in their case, it was to join the Navy. Whatever it was that they did and whatever journey you were on, they were successful.
Mhm.
And now you're leaving the Navy.
Okay, so I think I get it. There's a bunch of information that Salesforce gathers, aggregates, and it helps decisions to be made that affect me and are relevant for me and would wind up satisfying me. So not only being in the Navy, but also like which duty station I want to go to. Like there's a bunch of information that's going to wind up being aggregated, and decisions are going to be made on the basis of that data that's been aggregated. And so Salesforce has an efficient way for gathering all that information. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, very, very well stated.
All right. So what's an entry level position for a officer? You know, I got 4 years college. I did computer science as an undergrad, but I've been operating nuclear reactors for the past 4 years. Like, what types of roles should I be looking for in Salesforce?
Yeah, I think the first place to start is not so much like what you did in the Navy, although that is important. It's more about, you know, how did that feel to you? And do you want to continue with that? Maybe you learned over the course of your time in the Navy, like, whoa, I really hate doing that kind of stuff. So I think that's the first place to start, is to really look inside yourself and think about where over the course of your military career you excelled and where you were better than your peers. And maybe also think about, honestly, the other areas where you got by, but it wasn't what your strengths were. So that's one of the things that when I was leaving the Army, I didn't consider. You know, I was just like, oh, I did military intelligence in the Army, so what can I do now on the civilian side? And it was a whole lot of nothing. That was my personal experience. So I would recommend starting with a little bit of get to know yourself.
Yeah, actually for me, what I absolutely loved was driving a submarine. Like the opportunity to be 20 years old and the captain leaves the conning tower and leaves me in charge of a $2 billion submarine nuclear reactor. Like, is there any kind of job at Salesforce similar to that?
We don't have a lot of submarines, but that level of responsibility for sure. You know, Salesforce has something like 25,000 employees. It's a $50 billion company. So departments within the company, you probably wouldn't get this right out of the Navy, but departments within the company, there are some that are tens of millions of dollars and tens of thousands of employees. So that is something that if you're looking for that level of responsibility and that kind of significance, you can certainly work up to that. Maybe if that's the goal, then you kind of think backwards to where you might start. But that's awesome to start with that level of clarity and sort of knowing what your destination is. And then, you know, maybe we can kind of talk through that to work backwards to get you to where you should start.
Okay. So that's kind of, I'm going to cut it there, but that's kind of how it should be. It should be conversational. And what does success look like? At the end of the call, you can ask, hey, how would you recommend I go forward when engaging Salesforce? And he might say, okay, let's follow with this, I'm going to have you talk to other people. And he may also say, hey, you should maybe look at other companies. Because in the conversation, he knows the culture he's in, and he knows that it's not going to be a good fit for you. And the idea of you going to a company simply because it's got some logo that you heard of before isn't right, because performance review is coming up in a year. And if you don't like what you're doing, you're probably not going to be the best at doing it, and the company's going to ask you to leave. So why not, while you have time, find the company that you enjoy being at, and making sure that when you get there hitting the ground running. And so if he wanted to, he may introduce you to other folks and say, okay, and the conversation will go the exact same way. But now you have a little more information. You know what Salesforce is, you know what they do, you have a way of describing it that it's actually genuine to you.
And now you can go even a little further and say, okay, maybe I need to be in the supply chain group. And that's similar to what I did while I was in the military. And so I'm doing network security or something. Whatever it is, it's up to you. I don't care. We have people that are right now trying to go and be test pilots at SpaceX. But they know how to engage the people that can help them get the job opportunities that they're looking for by doing these informational interviews. The way I found this out, guys, wasn't that I read it in a book or that I wound up getting great opportunities. In one of the jobs that I had, I was chief of staff for the chief operating officer of the company. And I just sat back and watched all the guys that managed to get up, and it was all the guys that managed to get up and promoted to senior leadership levels were the ones that could go into the country club and sit down and have exactly these conversations. These are not trivial conversations. They are career management tools. You getting your first job as well as the subsequent jobs is your ability to find people that are going to give you the information that allows you to become the best candidate for that job. All right?
Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
One thing I would say about informational interviews, and now that I'm at Salesforce, I get asked for a lot of informational interviews, is when you're interviewing that other person, if I'm the job candidate, I'm interviewing that person to find out about the company, the culture. Is it a good fit for me? To Jason's point, you need to have some internal clarity on that. But something that Yulee did that I think is really key that we should bring out when you're doing informational interviews is you want to make sure that when you find something that resonates with you or your background, that you talk about it. Because it's just as much the other person getting to know you as you getting to know them. So it's two ways, and you need to make sure that you're trying to bring up your relevant experience and different things that you've done so that that could be relevant for what they're looking for, so that after the interview, they say, hey, that might be a great position. Let me go help you get that job. So I just want to make sure we bring that up, because to me, that's a very key part of an informational interview.
Yeah, no, I want to enhance it. Like, that's the goal. You are generating advocates, internal advocates that have access to a room you don't. So when you submit your application, that's not it. Like I said, I was a hiring manager. We saw thousands per job. The candidates that you paid attention to was someone that said, hey, listen, that's a good person. Look out for them. That separated you from the other 1,000 people that we were looking at. So getting the person that's in the organization to understand you and putting them in a position where they can advocate for you in that organization is critical, and that's the goal of the networking, and the tool to do that is with the informational interview. So if there are any questions, we can take them right now, but the next step is going to be to hear from veterans about their reintegration experience, the tips they would give to other people, or themselves if they had the opportunity to talk to themselves at a younger age. What do they wish they could have done differently? So that's where we're going next, but I just wanted to pause right now before we abandon the informational interview and see if there were any questions. Go for it.
How you doing? I'm Kevin. I had a question for
Kirsten.
Can you tell your whole name and a little more what you do here at Salesforce?
Sure. I'm Kirsten Farashan, no T. I'm a director in customer success. I'm a success manager. So what my role is after somebody has purchased Salesforce and they're using our tool, my goal is to come in and make sure that they're successful with our software. This is software as a service, which means they have the choice at any moment to purchase for the next month or not. And so I want to make sure that they're happy with the software, that they're doing best practices, they're getting the most value out of it, and I want to make sure that they're going to continue with the platform, they're going to grow on the platform, but more importantly, are they really getting the value that they're paying for? Because that is what is essentially my job, is the value for the software.
So I actually like that because as an officer, there was not a lot of customer relations in the submarine force. Not a lot of concern about how you felt about what we were saying. And I remember actually when I got out and I went to to teach at the ROTC unit, there you had a person that was there. She was the administrative manager of the ROTC unit. And communication styles on a submarine are different than they are in the rest of Earth, actually. It's a locker room. When I was in, it was a bunch of dudes, and the way you were persuasive is getting loud, aggressive, and that's how you beating your chest, and that's how you proved, got your way. And I had my commanding officer come to me and he said, "Hey, listen, I know where you're coming from, but that's not how we talk out here. How we talk is you have to, persuade, a lot of times without influence." And so that was a whole new set of legs that I needed to develop. And so I'd be interested, from your military to civilian experience. I'm sure when you were in the military, you had a lot of the same. It's a boys club. You got to be loud, assertive in order to get things done and be taken seriously. But then to move to a different way of communicating and being effective with customer relations.
Well, I think the key here is you have to listen to people, and whether you're in the military or you're in the civilian world, it's about listening and understanding what people are saying. So in the military, I was a personnel officer. I've done no HR or personnel in the civilian world. But I think the skills that I learned in the military around leadership, teamwork, all of those, thinking on my feet, having to make critical decisions with very little input, those are the keys that have set me up for success in whatever I've done. So I don't know if it's necessarily a soft skills thing, but I think the military teaches us about leadership, about teamwork. These are the things a lot of times people don't understand in the civilian world that we bring to the table. And so for me, that's the key, is expressing that in a way that other people will understand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there's also some stuff you can do, like, she talked about soft skills, and there are soft skills you learn. Maybe not on a submarine, but like on an airbase, I learned, you can often, there's the formal way, but often the informal way works better. Mm-hmm. So there's an expression, I was an officer, it was called the Lieutenant Mafia, and everyone laughed at it, but it actually worked. And what it was is you learn to go to the social stuff to network. But those networks matter for work performance, because if I needed something out of supply quickly, I could submit a supply request, I could call, I could yell. Probably the better option was for me to call my buddy Brian over there and go, "Hey man, I just submitted this, I really need your help, can you process this fast?" And that same stuff applies in the civilian world.
Yes.
Not just for jobs, but once you're in a job.
Yes.
A lot of what I do now involves the internal networks I've built with the people that I work with regularly, and it's the ability to go, "Hey man, you got a second? I need to talk to you about this quickly." And suddenly you clarify, but you also build consensus that helps you move forward, because suddenly they have a stake in it. Suddenly they kind of understand where you're coming from and can move forward better. So it exists in the military, it's just not the standard stuff that you hear about.
Oh, that's a great point, because you're absolutely right. There's the official way to do something, and there is the non-official way, not illegal or anything like that, but it's just using that informal network to get a lot more buy-in and get people to work as a team, instead of "Oh, you're my superior, I'm going to repeat back everything you said and follow it by the letter of the law, but I know that what you articulated is not what you want, and I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is the minimum to keep me from getting out of trouble." In fact, we had some folks that would say if the minimum wasn't acceptable, it wouldn't be the minimum. But instead, you want people to go above and beyond, to inspire people and say, "Hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's the goal that I'm trying to achieve. Are you on board with me? If you got a better way of doing it, please let me know." But a lot of that was done in those informal networks that you're talking about. So why don't you talk about your reintegration experience?
Sure. But just add one real quick thing. So on informational interviewing, you have the benefit of LinkedIn. So I think it's really important that you show that you invested some time into this interaction. So if I was interviewing with Yulee, I would have, prior to actually meeting with him, looked at his LinkedIn profile, been able to talk about his background too, because that shows a respect for his time and for where he is. Yep. And I think that makes Yulee more likely to invest in me, and it's a good mutual thing, and goes along with all the relationship building that you're hearing here. I just wanted to get that plug out. Oh, yeah.
I would also throw out Glassdoor and
Yep.
also make sure you know what the company does when you walk in. That was actually a mistake I made in Salesforce. And my first interview with my now manager was like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, CRM. And because I used them for my previous company,
Yep.
but that's all I used them for. And then it's like, we do a lot more than that. And so like my second interview after my actual where they pulled other engineers in and see if I actually knew what I was talking about, I had another interview with my prospective manager, and he's like, so what do we do? And this time I actually walked in prepared. But and also the Glassdoor thing I really throw out, partly because like if they ask why you want to work there, look at what other employees have said or former employees have said. You're gonna get the good and the bad. You're probably not gonna get the guys in the middle of Glassdoor, but you can at least see like, hey, this company's awesome to work for because of volunteering, or the CEO is kind of retentive, not here, but the previous job.
Can you talk about your reintegration experience?
Yeah, so I got out, like I said, in 2004, and I went to college, because I was enlisted. I think you guys were all officers, so I had a little bit different background.
I started out as enlisted.
Oh yeah, so you were both.
Yes.
That's cool, I have a lot of respect for that. So I didn't have my degree when I went in. I got it after I got out. And I remember just being really confused, right? So it was 2004, so we were still in Iraq, and what I remember most distinctly is always hearing on the radio about like the latest death count in Iraq and how that really affected me. And I was going to Sac State at the time, and nobody gave a crap, right? It was like, didn't even matter. And I remember that, and that to me highlights one example of just how your reference point is so different when you're leaving the military and you're coming back into the civilian world. But that continued for me, at least, in a lot of different interactions in terms of even little stuff. Like sometimes when people found out I was a vet, they'd be like, oh, you seem so normal. You know? and like, they didn't mean it in a bad way, but of course that means every vet is damaged, every vet is, and that's the kind of stuff that, I think it's good to be aware of that may be part of the veteran brand, and you have to navigate that. But I didn't have a master plan. I didn't know my destination. I don't know if I still know my destination. But what I just found is that I wanted to, where I was better at what I was doing, it tended to be around people. And whenever I was in conversations with people and having interactions with people, like that's where I seemed to have more strength than if I was trying to be more analytical or something like that. So that's what I've kind of used to guide my career decisions. It's not, maybe other folks have different perspectives, but mine was not real calculated, still isn't. I just kind of go where I think that my strengths can be valuable, and for the most part it's been okay. There's definitely been some ups and downs. I can talk to you about that if you want to know, but a lot of it, for me at least, wasn't intentional. It was a lot of kind of just reading the moment and seeing how I felt about things and what might have made more sense in the next step.
What were the different jobs?
Oh yeah, so I got out of the Army and I was working in sales of home electronics, and then I went to college, finished that, went to go buy cars for CarMax. Then I got laid off from that. This is 2009. Then I was a claim handler for an insurance company. I wouldn't recommend that for most folks. And then I went back to the grad school, got my MBA, and then I went to Tesla. So I was at Tesla for 4.5 years, and that's actually where I started the veterans program. I should have talked about this. I'm glad you asked. I started the veterans program at Tesla, which was a really cool opportunity. It was, a lot of the things that came together, like the things that we're talking about here, is building those relationships, playing to your strengths. So that was a cool way to bring military service back into my life, because when I got out in 2004, I was like, I'm done with that. That was a good experience. I put my uniforms in a box, stacked them all up, and didn't ever want to see them again. So it was really interesting then to fast forward about 10 years and then have that to come front and center. But that was a cool role where I got to learn a lot about other people's transition experience, and I learned that mine wasn't so special. It's a lot of people that go through exactly what I went through. So it's helpful, to the extent that I can. I'm willing to offer help in terms of shortcutting sort of that figuring out. But after Tesla, then I came here. I've been here at Salesforce for about 8 months. Oh, and I lead the VetForce program. I should also mention that. So the VetForce program is a cool program. I'll just put a plug in here. It's a great Salesforce program that provides free training and certification for veterans and spouses. Doesn't matter when you served, where you served, or anything like that. It's as inclusive as possible. It's free, veterans.force.com, and it's a great way to try out Salesforce careers, not so much at the company, but on the platform. There's about 1.9 million new jobs that will be created on this platform by 2021, and about $389 billion in GDP impact. So it's a great place to build your career, and it's a great place to see some of that value for yourself as you consider what you want to do with your career.
Can you do it remotely?
Yes, can you do it remotely? Absolutely. So this is all delivered online. Veterans.force.com, you just go there. You'll get to a point where you can take a class that normally costs $4,500. We give it to you for free and this isn't a sales pitch. So I'm not selling anything. You know, we're not collecting any money from you. This is purely given to you. All we ask is that you go through the training in sequence so that you can take full advantage of it. And all the training can be delivered virtually. You don't have to come in person.
What's the average salary of a Salesforce admin?
Average salary of a Salesforce admin starts about $70,000, and with a couple years of experience goes to $88,000. And then it goes on up from there. What typically happens with Salesforce is that you get one certification, the admin, to start, and then you can add more and more and more. And you can, if you get all of them, you can get in the hundreds of thousands of dollars and just become more and more valuable. Good question.
You want to talk about your reintegration experience?
So I had a much smoother one. So when I was primarily a network engineer. I was also a flight commander, but really my last flight was network engineering for AFCENT. So Air Force Central Command, OIC Network Engineering. So I was building computer networks, and luckily the military tends to do stuff like use Cisco networking equipment and Cisco firewalls, which are very common in the civilian world. And so the other thing they did is there's a program called DoD 8570, which requires civilian certifications to be an administrator on military networks. So I came out with 3 certifications and 8 years of Cisco experience, and I had a much smoother thing. So I took some time off just traveling, came back, updated LinkedIn, got my resume out, and got an interview in about 3 weeks. Probably the best thing I did though was, I had 2 things that I highly recommend is convert your resume from your military, whatever the hell you want to call it, to actual civilian terms, and find a friend to help you do that. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I had a bunch of friends that were in tech, and I took my resume to them, and there was a lot of ready to start. It took me about 3 or 4 revisions to finally get one where like, okay, this would be a decent tech resume. The other thing is, if you have the opportunity, get the civilian certifications while you're in. Like 8570, if you're a senior admin, will pay for what's called CISSP. And CISSP is what got me my interview at both the civilian jobs I've had since I got out. It didn't get me the job. It just gets you the foot in the door, and then they actually see if you actually know what you're talking about. Like, for my team, I just interviewed someone who wasn't a vet, but we didn't even bother talking to you unless you had that on your resume. And so take advantage of it. 8570, the Air Force paid for the tests. And for at least some of the lower level certs, they paid for the class. But I did CISSP on my own just because I was deployed for 12 months and I just studied, and then the Air Force paid for the test afterwards. So I came out with that certification, and I paid for some of the other 2 certs I had. It's much easier when you have time and you also have the gear to play. That was really what drove my transition.
So a question that's really important here, and it's going to be a follow-up for you as well, but a lot of what I get for current military folks is I'm busy. My commander's priorities are my priorities. I don't have time to worry about, my future. I'll worry about that when I get there. And I had the opportunity to tell this to some really senior people. That obstacle is gonna hurt. And if you wait until you're right in front of it to try and get over it, it's gonna hurt even more. You are not getting away from the pain of transitioning from one culture to another. The longer you wait, the harder it's going to be for yourself. So you are literally buying yourself more pain by waiting until you want to transition. So you doing a lot of certifications, the classes and things like that probably ate into your leave and liberty. There were some things that would have been a little more fun that you couldn't go to, but it was a priority and you wound up making it a priority. Do you want to, comment on that? If you had any advice to give to folks, say, listen, this is.
Yeah, to some extent. Like, I had the advantage, like you said, your boss's priority is your priority.
Yes.
Well,
Gotta do it.
we had 85, 70 numbers were my boss's priority. So me getting my cert helped my boss's metrics.
Got it.
The other thing I did is I got a master's degree in comp sci with a focus in security. In the Air Force, at least, you don't make major without a master's degree.
Okay.
Like, you can, but it's kind of one of those things that's like, it's stupid if you don't.
Yeah.
So my boss actually looked at that as part of my professional development on my PRs. So I got my degree because that was what my boss told me to do.
Okay.
But some of it is plan ahead, like you did say. Like the networking certs I got, which helped a lot, because I ended up being in charge of networks at my first job, were because I knew I was getting out. One thing that happened to me is I got out while I was deployed. I had to get it, because of that, I waited for the end of deployment. So I had 6 months before I was getting out. And I studied my ass off because, well, you're deployed. There isn't a lot of other stuff to do.
Yeah.
When you're in Qatar and you're only allowed off base 1 day a week, you can sit there and stare at the desert, or you can go to the gym, or you can study. And so that's what really helped me get through. I know when you're married, when you're stateside, it's much harder, but plan ahead. Take that, you don't make the decision on the spur of the moment and go, I'm not going to re-enlist, I'm going to drop my paperwork. At least for officers, you have to give 6 months notice no matter what. So take that time and actually plan your transition. Plan what you want to do when you get out. Like you said, figure out what you liked doing. And I was a techie. I was a network engineer. I was happy on a laptop programming a router and a switch and a satellite dish and this kind of stuff. I'm like, I kind of want to do that when I get out. And so I started looking at what job listings at companies I wanted to work for and positions I wanted were saying is kind of, this is what we're looking for. And then I kind of started planning on what I needed. So I had the degree thanks to basically my boss telling me to. And then I started looking at what other certifications are like, hey, this is what we require, this is what we look for. And also what skills they're looking for. And I kind of tried to develop those ahead of time, but I also took those and turned them into my resume.
Yeah.
For the skills I had, I tailored it to the position I was going for by looking for what people are actually looking for.
Want to add any thoughts to that?
Yeah, I have a simple statement for that. Do your actions reflect your ambitions? To me, it's a simple question. Do your actions reflect your ambitions? If you're planning on getting out of the military, then you need to focus on it. And I don't want you to, sandbag your job.
Right.
But you make the priority what's a priority for you.
I'm writing that down. I like that. You're going to see that in a Facebook post or something like that. Do your actions reflect your ambitions?
Right.
No, but it's absolutely true because, again, and you're bringing up a point that is not falling deaf on my ears, right? I think it's about, from what we've seen, about 20% of the military gets out and does exactly what they did while they were in. So 80% are doing a career change, which means there's a cost associated with that. You have no experience, you have no network, you don't understand the customers, the competitors, any of these sorts of things. So there's a lot you have to learn. And the company is taking a gamble on you when they hire you. But they're willing to take that gamble when it says, wow, this person did all of the certifications while dodging bullets in the desert. That's serious. That sets you up above anybody else that's applying for that opportunity, unless it happens to be somebody else that's in the military. But there's so much work that you could be doing to demonstrate that you're doing work even when you are stationed somewhere else to prove that you're ready to do it. And that's what allows you to wind up having the transition that you actually want. So, did we talk about your jobs?
No, I'll talk quickly because I think we're running out of time.
Yep, we got about.
I had a very meandering path. I got out of the military. I served in the military for 5 years. I started my own business flipping houses. The market crashed in 2008, and so did my business. And so I had to go find another job. And so I networked my way into another job. And if there's any key that I would give to anybody, it's networking. I networked my way through a real estate colleague. I got a job at Booz Allen Hamilton as a management consultant. I decided to get my MBA. One of my classmates networked me into the new company, and I was a technology consultant because I wanted to get involved in technology. And the wildest story yet is how I got into Salesforce. I was referred, get this, by my husband's cousin's best friend's ex-wife. So if you don't think you know anybody on LinkedIn, you're wrong. Go check LinkedIn. You will find people in the company that you want to know, and you will do the informational interview, and they will get to know you, and they will get to see why you're a good fit for them, and you will get the job that you want.
And it's hard to reach out to people when you need them. Invest in those relationships before you need them, because it makes reaching out to them icky, weird. This guy knows I'm only reaching out to him because I need a job next month. No, hey, I'm actually interested in what you do. This is interesting. Can I learn more? And comment, even when I did sales, I was, one of the problems that I have is asking questions to which I know the answer. Because it almost feels like I didn't do my homework, and I know I did my homework. But even in sales, they tell you have to ask those questions because they may tell you a little more that you didn't know. No one wants to talk to the know-it-all. They want to talk to people that are interested in what they do. They may be able to introduce you to someone else that can help you advance the knowledge that you have. So on LinkedIn, as you said, I think particularly military people are a little too precious about our LinkedIn connections. I found some people that had like 50 people they knew on LinkedIn. You gotta know more humans than 50 people. You need to know more humans than 50 people if you're trying to go out and get a job, particularly in the future, right? I'm one of these people that believes getting job search is only going to get tougher as we continue to go on. Humans have two abilities, cognitive and physical. And we're getting robots to compete with us for physical, and cognitive, we got algorithms. I don't think that's going to be the end of all jobs. We're also going to have to earn some money, but we're just going to have to continually churn and go out and find things. And the way you find those things is through your network. So meet people. Where's your herd? Who are the people like you that are doing the jobs you're interested in doing that have their ear to a conversation where a job might be popping up, and you can be one of the first people applying for it. That's why you're doing the networking. That's the point, to stay relevant and current on industries and activities that are going on. So yeah, question?
Yeah, here's where you AG.
Yes, I was Adjutant General. AG in the house! Woo!
No, but are you a hiring manager now?
I am not a hiring manager right now.
Well, and you guys have all been like recruiters and different sort of stuff. So could you talk about like the difference between being a recruiter and a hiring manager, where like the recruiter's job is finding people, whereas a hiring manager's job is like actually doing the thing. And I think that most vets like don't have no idea that there's a difference there, and just talk about like, you know, what are the differences between those two.
Maybe you should talk about it.
I've never been a recruiter.
Do you have a great experience
Yes.
with Tesla? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And we're almost at 7:30. So.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Okay, dos minutos. Yeah, so the different roles, like when, for example, a company the size of Salesforce, there's different levels of people that you go through, but the recruiter's role is really they're looking to they want to present the very best candidates, only the best candidates to the hiring manager. The hiring manager is the one that is actually, like Ian was saying, the technical expert in their field. For example, to use a Tesla example, there's the director of production. So that person is responsible for running the production line and interviewing and hiring the supervisors that work under him or her. But the recruiter doesn't do that. The recruiter is really trying to screen out the candidates and only show the very best ones to that director of production. That's cool.
All right. Yes.
Yeah.
That was 1 minute.
Ah,
well
nice.
done. All right. So the goal now is for us to turn to networking here. Now, I'm going to make networking really easy for everyone in the group. Got a little exercise to make it happen. Look to someone, and you're going to, in 20 seconds, introduce yourself. So find another person, pair up, find who you're gonna pair with real quick. You know, pair up. You got your pair? This is going in. Yep. Then, all right, now introduce yourself. Both people, introduce yourselves.
Hey, George, Jason, nice to meet you. Hey, Kirsten, how you doing?
All right. Now it goes quick, right? That was 20 seconds. It goes quick. What we also want you to do is understand what opportunity it is that you are looking for going forward right now. So tell the person, that you've already talked to, what opportunity it is you're looking for. But then, I'm gonna let you go after this. Then, when you talk to other people, you're looking for that person's opportunity, not your own. Okay? So if I was talking to Kirsten and Kirsten said, hey, I'm looking for a new hire, fine. My job is to go out here and find a new hire for Kirsten, not whatever it is I said I'm looking for. That takes a lot of this icky away from networking. All right? Enjoy yourselves.
Really quick, I know you're talking, but I just want to say thank you so much for coming. We were so excited to host you. Please, we're going to stay to continue to networking and keep talking and do this. So thank you guys.
So yeah, what do you look for? Oh, okay, cool. Oh, are you a recruiter in the military? Oh, no kidding. I was telling this one.